Let's be honest, John Jones should be fighting Tom Aspinall this weekend. That's what should be happening. The undisputed champion should be fighting the interim champion. He says that Tom Aspinall hasn't proven anything. Go and look at how many of the current top 10 Tom Aspinall has beaten. 7 of them. He's beaten 7 of the current top 10. So don't tell me that he hasn't earned the right. He's absolutely earned the right to have a shot at the heavyweight championship. Welcome to UNCAGED on the talkSPORT MMA YouTube channel. I'm Adam Catterall. Always a pleasure to be alongside the one and only Mr. Brendan Loughnane. Before we get stuck in to this week's big UFC preview, as UFC 309 hits Madison Square Garden in New York City, a little bit of a reminder to like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow everything here and make a bigger community in the world of MMA as we head on towards the end of November, where this young man is going to be doing his thing in the featherweight division and becoming a 2-time PFL champion. That's right, getting you closer to the action week on week. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. How's training camp, pal? You actually look like you got a smile on your face, like it's not bugging you too much.
I know, I look healthy, I'm happy. That's when Brendan's having a good camp and you're all in for a treat. I can't wait.
I love that you've just referred to yourself in the third person.
Yeah, I have. That's where I'm at.
Brendan's having a good time.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now. Confidence.
There you go. Last weekend of November, this man and Kizirev for the featherweight title. We'll get you closer to it, all right? Right now, though, let's have a little bit of a look back at last night's UFC action. Apex, the destination in Las Vegas. You told us about him ages ago, mate. And this fella has just taken his opportunity and he just keeps running with it. That's 4 finishes in 4 fights. The fighting nerds are flying. I'm going to get myself some of them glasses, man. They must be making people like double hard. Because Carlos Prates put in a performance last night against the seasoned vet in Neil Magny that has really got people talking, pal.
I just feel like now we're at the changing of the guard now, Adam. We're at the stage where these new, young, hungry killers are just coming up these divisions. And you've got guys like Neil Magny that are kind of stagnant and been sat there for a long time in them top 10s, top 15s. And now the Lions are coming through, mate. And yeah, like I said, I've seen Carlos for the last decade tearing people apart in Tiger Muay Thai and Phuket top team even before that. What a superstar. Talks the talk, walks the walk. Incredible.
He's got zero fear as well, mate. The way that he shut down Neil Magny, we're talking about a first-round finish, and the way that he just closes down the geography of the octagon with his feet. He just would not let Neil Magny out. And the minute that he got him backed up into the corner that he wanted to back him up to against the fence wall, he let that long left go, mate, and it was just dynamite.
It really reminds me of the Till style. Like, you can tell Till's done a long time over there too. They've got that wide southpaw, rangy, real hard to get inside on him, and just a hell of a lot of power from the backhand, and incredible to watch. And I think that, I'm really excited to see where the ceiling is for Carlos. I really am.
It's going to be interesting to see what they match up with him next, because there's a lot of movement going on currently in that welterweight division. Obviously, the king killer that everybody's referring to is Shavkat. Is he going to be the guy that dominates the division for a period of time? But then you've got dudes like this coming through.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit of noise, a little bit underneath that as well. We've got a great fight coming up for Ian Gary taking on Joaquin Buckley. You've got the Jacques Della Maddalena's coming through, still undefeated. You've got a few of those just on the cusp. This guy's not too far behind them, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a top 10 next.
Very exciting. I think he's the new Brazilian superstar. I really do. I think he's the guy that Brazil needs right now. And I think, with Aldo and all these other guys, Silva retiring recently, he's the new coming. Even all the guys at the Fighting Nerds, they're all coming through now. Caio Baralho, the same. And they're an exciting gym. They're an exciting gym to watch.
This card was kind of decimated a little bit last night because we wanted to see Cody Garbrandt back in action. It didn't materialise. He ended up falling off fight week. We've had a couple of fallouts, actually, some of which were connected to what's coming up this week with the likes of Nicholas Dolby not being able to perform as well. A few people falling off the various cards. But one person that I wanted to highlight, if we were to do a preview on this last week, I would have mentioned his name, Mansour Abdul Malik, right? This kid come through the Contender Series. And before getting to the Contender Series, he had 6 first-round knockout wins. Got to the Contender Series, had a second-round knockout victory. So therefore, absolutely unblemished record, looking $1 million. But this is the big show. He's at the UFC now. He's at the UFC. And we see this all the time, don't we, Brent? We see these guys on this regional scene doing their thing, knocking people out, and then they step up to a proper level of MMA, PFL or UFC, and then they find that level, and maybe some get beat in their first outings because the level's a little bit too much of a jump for them, or they start to reduce the amount of killer moments, viral moments. Not this dude. Jeez. Burst onto it, didn't mess about, throws a knee up the middle, smokes the kid, and has him out of there within one round. He's picked up where he left off, and this is what I love. I love it when someone comes with hype, bursts onto the scene, and then captures that imagination once again. Fantastic, fantastic performance for his first, what you would call as proper time out in the UFC.
It's true. You know what I mean? You just touched on an important point there. Whenever I get an opponent over the last couple of years, I look at the record. Okay, 15-0. I go, okay, how many of them? And then how many of them are against 2-11s, 6-12? Yeah. You might have 12 first round knockouts, but who are you fighting? And what is the combined record of them opponents that, I always look at that stuff. That is a massive thing that goes under the radar. And they get to places like even the Dana White Contender Series.
Yeah.
And then they just fall off. They've got 44 first round knockouts. They get to the Dana White Contender Series and struggle on a split decision. I see it time and time again. But this isn't the case here. Straight through, big scene, and it's a real deal.
Yeah, he is looking the real deal. Big, strong, flashy fella that he's creating the viral moments. Always good to see. It leads us on nicely to bounce into a new fight week. UFC 309 heads to Madison Square Garden. It's this period of time, right, at the end of the year. It's my favourite period because we go from Abu Dhabi, which is a great fight week. Next one's up, New York City. And obviously, we've only been doing it since 2016 when Conor burst onto the scene and did his champ night. And it's just become a staple in the calendar since. And then the final one of the year is always in Las Vegas. These last 3 months are just awesome to follow MMA. And this fight week, we get to see something relatively new for Jon Jones, a man that has been there, done it, got the T-shirt, got that GOAT status, but he's never performed at Madison Square Garden. He's got the opportunity to do it on Saturday night. I'm looking forward to seeing him in action against Stipe Miocic. Got plenty of thoughts on that particular fight, of which we'll get to in a minute. But we've got to pick up on the interviews that Jon's been doing this week. He's not been backwards in coming forwards. He's been asked many questions. Kevin Iole, the great Kevin Iole, asked him a question this week about, listen, you come through Stipe, you look good against Stipe. Are you going to defend the heavyweight championship against the interim champion, Tom Aspinall? Because that's what should happen, ladies and gentlemen. Undisputed champion should defend against the interim champion. That's what should happen. And Jon's answer was, most likely not. And then he went on to give an answer which can be split up into two, right? Because he says that Tom Aspinall hasn't proven anything. And then he says, I am not willing to gamble on somebody else making a name off the back of me. Now, there's two parts to that, of which I'll tackle in a minute. But what did you make of those answers, Brendan, from the great Jon Jones?
I can see both sides. I can see both sides to what he's saying. It's going to be interesting because we'll get into this now, won't we, Adam?
We will.
But, I mean, look, here's the thing. Top and bottom of the situation. Tom is an unbelievably dangerous fight for Jon Jones. Unbelievably dangerous, yeah?
Yeah.
Essentially, how I take what he was saying is, Pereira's an easier fight for me. I'm at the end. He's a bigger name. And I'd rather just end it on that. That's how I interpret it. And am I okay with that? I mean, would I do the same in his position? Probably. Do I understand where he's coming from? A little bit. So obviously it's not right. And I know you're going to come here now and you're going to go fully in. I see your face. I know you're ready for it. I see his point. Is it right? No. Would I probably do it? Probably, yeah.
Here's where I'm at with it. Here we go. Right. So Jon Jones is one of the very few fighters within the UFC that has earned the right to kind of have a say in what happens, right? Because of the body of work, the murderer's road that he went through at light heavyweight, and just because of the stature of who he is. So he does get a say, absolutely he does, but not to the detriment of the division. Right now, we are getting Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic because that was originally scheduled a year previous. It was supposed to be last year, wasn't it? And at the time, nobody really was that upset about it being for the heavyweight championship. Even though Stipe's coming off a knockout loss to Francis, he's been out of the octagon for a long period of time. He probably hasn't earned the right to get back in, but he is the greatest statistically UFC heavyweight. So nobody batted an eyelid, especially with the rest of the runners and riders underneath vying for that position. Because at the time, we still had Pavlovich coming through. Aspinall was still looking for a little bit coming off the back of his injury. You had Almeida. You had a few others running and riding. But time has moved on. And the division now looks an awful lot different. So therefore, a year on from the original scheduled fight, let's be honest, John Jones should be fighting Tom Aspinall this weekend. That's what should be happening. The undisputed champion should be fighting the interim champion, because this isn't boxing. We remove all doubt. We unify everything. We get everything sorted. But because it's John Jones, he was allowed to say, well, hang on a minute. I was supposed to be fighting the greatest heavyweight of all time. I want to do that fight. So we've allowed that to happen. All right? That's going to play out on Saturday night. You can't allow him to do that again. You can't allow him, to the detriment of the division, to then say, well, I'm going to fight this other guy. No. If he wants to do that, you take the belt off him. It's that simple. He's no longer the heavyweight champion of the world, and you allow the division to move on. You can't force him to fight Tom Aspinall. I get that bit. But you can say, well, hang on a minute. Our heavyweight champion fights the interim champion. Are you our heavyweight champion? Well, I want to fight this other guy. Well, you're not our heavyweight champion then. Go and fight the other guy. We'll sanction it. That's cool. That's no problem. We'll make that happen for you because of the respect we've got for you. But you're not disrespecting our divisions. The division moves on. Tom Aspinall moves on, upgraded or whatever. He fights a Cyril Gane or a Volkov or whoever's the next contender. And the real heavyweight champion of the world is crowned. That's my take on his attitude towards wanting Pereira over Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that is, what should happen. But I do think, oh God, it's tough. It's tough here now because you put me in a position of being a fighter, a pundit, and Tom's mate. So it's like,
well, just approach it as a fighter, because I get it. I completely get it from him. The thing from John's point of view is this, right? So he's answered that question this way. He's answered the question as Tom Aspinall hasn't proven anything, right? That was his first part of that answer. Well, let me just give you some stats. You know I love my stats, so let me give you the stats, right? So in 2011, John Jones got an opportunity to fight Shogun, right? He came in last minute for Rashad to become the light heavyweight champion, didn't he? To that point, John Jones hadn't proven anything. Let me give you the stats. He'd had 7 UFC fights and he was 6-1. All right, the one was a disqualification, but he was 6-1 off those 7 fights. 4 of those 6 wins were finishes, 2 in the first round, 2 fight night bonuses. Go and look at the level of fighter that he beat. There's not many top 10 contenders there. There's a Stephan Bonner, a legend of the game, but there's not too many other big names there. Tom Aspinall right now has had 9 fights in the UFC. He's 8-1, and again, that one is a technical knockout with a knee injury. But the 8 wins are all 8 finishes. 7 of them are in the first round, and he's got 7 fight night bonuses. Go and look at how many of the current top 10 Tom Aspinall has beaten. 7 of them. He's beaten 7 of the current top 10. So don't tell me that he hasn't earned the right or proven anything, because he absolutely has. And if John Jones's attitude towards Tom Aspinall not proving anything, well, John, I'm sorry to say, in 2011, if that's your barometer for proving something, you didn't prove anything up to the point of getting the shot against Shogun. Tom Aspinall's current record far outweighs what John did in 2011 before he got his shot. Don't get me wrong. After 2011, we're talking about something of legend from John Jones, right? But up to the point of getting the shot, Tom Aspinall's body of work so far outweighs that, and he's absolutely earned the right to have a shot at the heavyweight championship.
You're 100% right. I'm with you on all them facts and figures because numbers never ever lie. But to the average casual MMA fan, which fight do they rather see?
I'm not denying that John Jones versus... Are you talking Alex Pereira now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what everyone wants to see. And UFC are providing a service and pay-per-views, and that is exactly the road they're going to go down to make the most money, aren't they, really? That's how it looks. And so you're saying you get rid of the belt then, basically, you're saying?
I'm not against the fight. Like Alex Pereira's a superstar. Look what he's doing.
Yeah.
Alex Pereira's whole career, just to put this fight at the weekend in context, right? Alex Pereira's whole UFC career has played out since we last saw Stipe Miocic in the octagon.
Wow.
He's had 10 fights
Yeah.
in the UFC. We haven't seen
It's not
Stipe in
fair.
that whole period of time. He has been sensational. He's a 2-weight world champion. And I don't know what weight John's talking about. Is John talking about coming back down to light heavy? Or is he thinking of staying at heavy and maybe bringing Alex up and all that type of thing? Great. But have that fight, but have it after you've had Tom Aspinall. Or relinquish the belt, let the division move on, and then go and have your fun fight. You can't hold the division up any longer. We've waited 18 months. It's not fair. That's not how this game works.
I mean, we're talking about MMA here and not fair. We're talking about like Colby Covington just getting thrown in title fights left, right, and centre. Like the world isn't fair, and MMA is not fair. It's really not. And if I know Dana White, and if I know MMA, Pereira's getting the next fight with John Jones. Like it, don't like it. That's probably what they're going to do, right?
Let's hope not, because the second part of his answer to Kevin Iole, after he said that Tom's not proven anything, he said this, that I'm not willing to gamble at this period in time on somebody else making a name off the back of me, right? My take on that is very, very simple.
Yeah.
Every fight is a gamble. Every fight, every single time that you step inside that cage, that octagon, it is a gamble. It's not guaranteed what is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So why is John not willing to gamble against this guy, against Tom Aspinall? The reason for that is because he knows full well that that is the biggest threat to his undefeated record. And
Agreed.
by saying that out loud, it only makes me think that John doesn't think he can beat him.
I mean, listen, it's on a plate for a minute. He is John Jones, and it's like, do you want Pereira or do you want Tom Aspinall? He gets a choice because of what his body of work in the UFC and who he is and what he's done. And that's how it looks to me. And I know who I'm choosing if I'm John Jones as well.
Of course.
I know.
Take the path of least resistance. Of course you do.
And that's the way it's going to go by the looks of it. Let's just see. You never know. You said the other day that you think he's going to lay it all down in the octagon. To me, after hearing him, I don't think he is.
I don't.
I think he's definitely fighting Pereira next.
And well, I'll tell you what I hope this is. John's not stupid. He's a very clever man, right?
He is very clever.
And I hope what he's doing is, well, hang on a minute. Let's have a look at this. The fans are at me. Dana's at me. The UFC's at me. All these people are calling me this, that, and the other, right? But let's just weigh it up properly. What is the reward for John Jones in fighting and beating Tom Aspinall, right? Well, in fight, there's a massive risk here because if he loses, does it dilute anything? I don't think it dilutes any of his legacy that has come previously. That is etched in stone. It's going into the Hall of Fame. But getting beat off the next generation, from a John point of view, could he live with that? I don't know if he could. What if he beat the next generation? I think it takes his legacy to a whole new level. If he could beat the next generation as well as all the previous generations, wow, man, you're never going to talk about GOATs again. It's done. It's absolutely nailed on.
Yeah, but
what I think he's doing, but again, that risk is a massive, massive risk.
Yeah.
So therefore, the reward has to exceed it. What I think John's doing here is going, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then all of a sudden you get another note on the end of that paycheck. He goes, go on, man. Maybe stick another one on. Stick another one on, and I might just think about it. Because let's be honest, the more we talk about it, the more we hype it, the more that everybody's on John's case, the more eyeballs want to see that fight. It's a supply and demand game. John's not thick. I think he's looking for that. I really do. Because I genuinely believe you don't think he wants it.
I don't. I disagree. I disagree. I think he's done very well at the sport. I think he's got some good money put behind him. I think he's got some good assets. His brothers are NFL superstars. They're not struggling for dough over there. They're really not, yeah? I think...
That's fair.
It's true. I think his legacy is way, way, way more important to him than any zeros. The risk massively outweighs the reward of fighting Tom Aspinall. Massively, like ridiculously. It's there, Adam. That's fair. Pereira now. The reward and the risk is the other side. It's the complete other way. Yeah. So if I'm John Jones and I'm 40 and I know I'm slowing down, I am fighting Alex Pereira. I'm not hearing the Tom Aspinall name again. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm at the end. I'm a legend in this sport. I'm a legend forever. I don't care if a couple of little eggs on Twitter start chatting Tom Aspinall's name on my Instagram account when I'm worth whatever I'm worth, and I'm probably going to get the same for fighting Pereira as I'm fighting that Tom Aspinall. Am I wrong? Probably going to get the same. So it's like I've got to look at the path of least resistance here because I am 40. I get out of bed and my back hurts now. So them days are gone. Them killer days when I was 21 and I was just choking Machida out, dropping him on his head. All them days are gone. These days are last bit a few quid, cement your legacy. Stipe, greatest in theory heavyweight of all time. Alex Pereira's banging everyone out, but stylistically, I know that's a great fight for me. Take him, then I'm off.
He's not wrong, is he?
I'm off, I do. I'm off, and then for the rest of my life, I'm going to get eggs on Twitter saying, but you ducked Tom Aspinall. And I'm sat there with a cocktail on the beach going, yeah, I did.
And what? Yeah, right.
That's it.
You're right. And then, just pump the brakes on all of this. This could all go tits up at the weekend if Stipe Miocic lands a one-ton bomb on him.
Oh, wow. Wow, there's so many moving parts to this whole thing, isn't there?
Well, that leads us on nicely to talk about that main event because we haven't seen Stipe for 3.5 years since he was stopped by Francis in devastating fashion. I know that he wanted another one with Francis because he's one-on-one with him. I know that he wanted some other fights. He wanted this one with John this time last year. It didn't materialise, but we're finally here. Stipe Miocic, I think, is being massively undervalued coming into this fight. I think a lot of people, I wouldn't say disrespecting him because they're all on the John Jones train, because they're using logic. They're looking at logic and going, 3.5 years out, last time we saw you was this. We're talking Stipe Miocic. The guy can punch and the guy knows how to wrestle to an extent, doesn't he? I think this is a competitive fight at the weekend. I don't agree that it should be for the heavyweight championship of the world because there's another fella that I think should be fighting for that on Saturday night. But as a fight, we don't have an awful lot of data on either man in recent times. I think it's relatively competitive.
I don't really know what to expect. You know, we've not seen either man for a long time. I watched John Jones on the pads and, you know, watch a bit of training. Not seen any of Stipe stuff. Really difficult to tell where each guy's at in their head, where they're both at physically. You can kind of see a bit of pad work. You can always see that John Jones's skill is always going to shine through. He's also a very smart man and smart fighter. Very, very clever. I believe he watches every interview, because we share the same manager and I hear certain things through the grapevine that he just becomes obsessed with his opponents and he watches every interview, he watches the way they walk, he watches they cross the legs and he knows everything about every opponent. And I can tell he's that type of guy, you know, from watching him. He'll have Stipe Miocic sussed out big time. Like we all think, oh, John, no, he's got it all sussed out. You don't become the best in the world without having it all sussed out in your head. Do you know what I mean? So, John Jones, I mean, Cyril Gant at the time when he fought him, the last time we did see him, we can only go off your last performance, which was incredible, by the way. No, it was incredible. It was picture perfect. The way he switched it down, arm over. It didn't even look like the choke was on. It looked like he didn't miss a step. So who knows what we're going to see. But from going off the data, because you know we like the stats and we like the data, he's been looking phenomenal. He's been looking phenomenal in the bits of training that I've seen. He's also, judging off his last performance, looks at home at heavyweight.
I know for a fact he's been spending a lot of time at the Las Vegas PI training in the altitude chamber as well. So he's been putting that serious science grafting to his training. So it's going to be interesting to see what this version of John Jones looks like, as it is going to be interesting to see what this version of Stipe Miocic looks like at 42 years of age. That's your main event. Your co-main event, ladies and gentlemen, they're doing it again. Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. Speaking of guys coming back from a long layoff, Mikey Chandler, where have you been, sunshine? We know that you've been waiting for the big one. It didn't materialise, and I'm delighted that he's decided to just cut that hiatus and come back, because the first time that these two went at it, it was an absolute barnstormer. Best part of 8 minutes of just complete and utter chaos. And I think we're going to get the same thing again, because neither man knows how to fight any other way, mate.
By the way, have you seen the shape on Michael Chandler?
Jesus. Whoa.
Like, have you seen the shape on this fella? How old's he, Adam?
38. Yeah, 37, 38 years.
38, and the guy is an absolute, ladies and gentlemen, like, I know you're probably going to put
He
a
don't do
picture up here
carbs.
while I'm talking.
He doesn't do carbs, does he?
Is that what he said?
No, I'm just saying.
No, he's not. No, it wouldn't surprise me, that physique. I've never seen anything like it for a guy in his late 30s. Incredible.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira, one of my favorite of all time. An out and out finisher, gets stuck in there, come through loads of adversity in his career, loads of losses. Both of them have got loads of losses. So it's just nothing to lose at this stage, isn't it? It's just let's have a proper scrap and we win as fans.
I think from the winner, I think, can re-enter the conversation of potential title fights. Islam's going to be fighting Arman Sarukian. Obviously, Charles fell short to Arman Sarukian last time out in a weird fight where he kind of coasted at certain points in that particular fight. But Sarukian's brilliant, and I'm not begrudging him his title shot. You've got guys losing. So Poirier's losing, Gaethje's losing, Max. All these, there's no real who's coming through after Sarukian. This is big. This is massive. Like, if you can come through here and look really flash and look good, you might be next up after Sarukian.
That's true. Nobody's screaming from the rooftops right now. There's a lot of losses going on. Gamrot was looking good.
Yeah.
Lost Fiziev, lost Poirier, lost Gaethje, lost, like you say, these staples in the division. Nobody's shining out right now for a title shot. So Charles Oliveira or Michael Chandler go out there and put it on the other one and get a finish in the first round and look great doing it and do a good, nice American speech like Michael Chandler likes to do, or Charles Oliveira gets on there with Brazilian swang.
Yeah.
It could definitely happen.
That's what we need, man. The other three fights on the main card, you've got Viviane Araujo taking on Karine Silva. I'm going to be dead honest about you. Don't blink, because Karine Silva is an absolute beast, and I reckon that she's going to smoke Araujo very, very fast in this particular fight. You've got Bo Nickel and Paul Craig going at it, and Mauricio Ruffi taking on James Lontop. I'll come to the middleweight fight in a minute. We've just been speaking about Carlos Prates and these lads out of Brazil and these fighting nerds. Well, Mauricio Ruffi's rocking up on Saturday night, ladies and gentlemen. And if you thought Prates was good, wait till Ruffi gets his hands on James Lontop. Woof, this guy's just as impressive.
Oh, mate, he is so impressive to watch. He's so pleasing on the eye, isn't he? Like, the way he transitions on the feet is incredible. He's not scared, throws whatever he feels like, very creative. And he reminds me a bit of a Yair Rodriguez, like a Brazilian version, doesn't he? Just very creative on the feet. Great to watch.
Yeah, fighting nerds, man. They're flying. In the middleweight division, Bo Nickel, Paul Craig. I think this is dangerous for Bo Nickel, you know. I know that everybody will be looking at it going, Bo Nickel's the blue-eyed boy. He's been given another pay-per-view main card. He's going to go and do his collegiate wrestling, and he's going to ragdoll Paul Craig, who's, you know, he's been thereabouts. He's got some good wins. He's got the Ankalaev win. He's got the Jamal Hill win. They're up at light heavy. But this is Bo Nickel's coming out party. Well, hold your horses, sunshine, because if you take this kid on the mat, you could end up losing a neck, an arm, a knee, a toe, all sorts. Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu is on point. And that's where this fight gets interesting once it hits the mat and he's on his back.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen enough from Bo Nickel just yet. I really don't. I mean, there's a lot of hype going behind it, but he's been inactive. And they are putting him in there with an absolute veteran right now in Paul Craig. So let's see where he's at.
I'm just looking at his like I've just mentioned there. Ankalaev beating him. Jamal Hill beating him. He's been in with Khalil. He's been in with Kaio. He's been in with
Everyone.
Draw and the win against Shogun. Mate, been there, done it, got the T-shirt. Now he's doing the science and coming down into middleweight. This is a big night for him. And if he can get a win against Bo Nickel, it just keeps the dream alive, keeps it pumping. A little bit of British interest on this as well, mate. Orban Elliott, he's out there, the Welsh gangster, excuse me. And Veronica Hardy, the wife of Hardy. He's kicking off the prelims. Orban Elliott, he just has taken to the UFC, hasn't he? He's got a big smiley face. He's putting the graft in, working out of that gym with Jack Shaw and the team there, mate. Big opportunity for him. I mean, think about that. Where he's come from to be fighting at Madison Square Garden now. Wow.
I was just going to say that. I mean, even for Veronica too, amazing card to be on. If there's any cards you want to be on throughout the year, this is definitely top three in it. These are the ones that you want to be on. Alongside John Jones and a big name, all eyes, big moments, and best of luck to them both.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you're checking it out on Saturday evening. There you go. That's how the show lines up this week. Lots to talk about. I'm sure there'll be a few viral bits from the show that get pumped around the internet, and I'm sure I'll run into John Jones in fight week, and he might flag me up on a few of those things. But you know what I mean? It is what it is. We don't say anything on this show that we won't say to people's faces. We're here for the sport. We're here for the people.
Hey, speak to yourself. Speak to yourself.
We're here for the great fight. Listen, on that note, I'm out of here. Thank you very much for tuning in to us. Make sure you like and subscribe the channel here on talkSPORT, and we'll catch you next week for a full debrief on UFC 309.